Pop culture is more than just entertainment. It's a lens into society, relationships, and human behavior. I'm Grace, and here on The Grace Report, we dive into stories beyond the headlines. Whether it's reality TV drama, celebrity scandals, or royal family intrigue, I'm here to break it all down. What it means, why it matters, and how it reflects the world we live in. Join the conversation, share your take, and let's make sense of the culture shaping our lives one story at a time. Sorry, you guys. I don't know why my microphone starts muting whenever I enter the stage, but I wanted to wish you all a happy Remembrance Day, happy Veterans Day. It's a very, very big day for us all around the world, as far as the history of our countries is concerned. And so, yeah, I hope you guys are all having a great time celebrating wherever you are, honoring the soldiers who have fought for your rights of your country. Um, I wanted to tell you guys something, but you know what happened yesterday? It was so cute. When I went to do the Thanksgiving with my friends, I had like a big tote bag and I didn't want to bring it to go like around to do all this grocery shopping. So I took my credit card out and I gave it to my friend. I was like, hey girl, can you put this in like your purse? Cause she had a little like crossbody. She's like, yeah, sure. And I forgot to get it back from her. And so yesterday she's like, hey Grace, I'm actually like, I could drop it off for you. I'm actually like coming around your neighborhood, like blah blah. I was like, yeah, like, why don't you come over to my place, pop in for tea? She does this like improv theater class or whatever, not far from my place actually. So it was cute to have a nice little tea time with her. And I found out that she didn't have any plans tonight, so I invited her to come join me and the guys for our raclette party tonight. So that's going to be a lot of fun to have everybody all together. So I'm really looking forward to that. Anyway, hopefully you guys are having a great day too. We've got Gala in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning, Kahara. Good morning, BR. Nice to see you. She says, yup, Kayla's a little slow. Y'all, and I have to find my phone for that segment because it was so funny. I was on the metro this morning and I'm like doing my due diligence, listening to all the podcasts. And I'm listening to the Frenemies podcast with Kale and Becky. And there's just this moment where Becky is asking Kale something very simple that pretty much everybody knows, right? And she just doesn't know it. And I'm like, girl, are you slow? Like this happens very often with her. And I'm like, how do you function? Like, how do you function? You seem to be very, very like delayed, but I digress. Good morning, Jenny, Tisha, Ronnie, Amelia. Good morning, Becky. Good morning, Acacia, Kalia, Michelle. So nice to see y'all here for another installment of the Morning Report. Good morning, Shelby, Venetia, Patricia, Gwen, Claranda. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Terry, Bibi, Hola Chica. And wow, Venetia's husband is a veteran from the Navy. Wow, what an honor. Absolutely incredible. Is he doing any of those ceremonies for Veterans Day at all? Again, happy Veterans Day to your family, to everybody around the world. This morning, we watched a ceremony of what was going on here in Paris to mark their own Veterans Day over here as well, which is really cool. Listen, I'm just saying, it's a little bit scary, the stuff that this girl just does not know. Bonjour, Kelly. You had me at raclette. It's so good, isn't it? It's absolutely freaking delicious, and I'm so excited for it. Listen, guys, if you see me reaching today, listen. On the one hand, I've got my water, and this is like a souvenir I bought myself from Belgium. Okay, and I put my water in it. And on the other hand, I've got my protein smoothie. Vanilla protein smoothie mixed with a banana and some water for my breakfast. Y'all are dying at the kale thing. Listen, you guys are going to see exactly what I mean. Just you wait. I've got the video and everything, or sorry, I should say the audio and everything to prove to you that, my girl is not wound too tightly. He took the day off of work. Absolutely amazing. I hope he has a great time, for himself today. I feel like this could be a nice self-care day for our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful veterans. You guys, on today's episode of the Morning Report, we've got a couple of stories that I'm really looking forward to getting into with you guys. So we're going to talk about Janelle. Shout out to the Ashley's Reality Roundup for the scoop, by the way. But we're going to talk about Janelle being this close from getting David Eason held in contempt of court. Kale, again, I think she might be a little bit delayed. We're going to talk about that. Then Paris Jackson. She's online talking about how all the coke that she was doing messed up her nose. It's severely damaged and whatnot. Like, she's being really candid about this. And I think it's a wonderful thing that she's being open about the long-term damage that people expose themselves to when they do these sorts of rugs, right? Because when you look at her, you don't see anything wrong with her nose, right? Sometimes when people have these kinds of addictions, they like to go skiing with their noses and whatnot. Like, you see these disfigured noses, right? So a lot of people feel like, okay, well, if I don't have a big disfigured or whatever, like messed up, gnarly nose like that, then there's nothing wrong with it. But, there are other people like Paris Jackson who look perfectly fine. I would have never guessed she had any kind of nose damage or anything like that, right? Who are still suffering from the effects of these rugs. Do y'all remember, by the way, this is our next story that we're going to talk about after the Paris Jackson thing, y'all. So bear with me, but the Shannon Sharpe of it all. Do you guys remember that old NFL player, sports commentator? He's like pushing 60 years old or something. And he was messing around with like an 18, 19-year-old girl from his gym or whatever. And then he took things too far to the point where he allegedly SA'd her. She had to sue him and everything, right? And he tried to humiliate her. She filed her lawsuit as a Jane Doe. And then the first thing that Shannon Sharpe did was put her name out there and try to paint her as some sort of like a floozy or something like that. And then she ultimately wound up winning that money. Shout out to my girl. Hang on, I got a sound effect for this somewhere, right? Hang on. She wound up winning that money. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Ka-ching, ka-ching. She is now flaunting what she's been buying with Shannon Sharpe's money. And you know what? Good. I love that for her. It's what she deserves, right? And lastly, we're going to talk about Kim Kardashian. Listen, Kim Kardashian, I'm not a Kim K hater. I'm not a Kardashian hater. However, I will say that I do feel like Kim is making a mockery of herself and her attempts to become a lawyer, right? Because, and we're going to get into this, but like in the latest of her whole legal saga, she is crashing out because the psychics that she saw in the hopes of passing the bar and becoming a lawyer all told her that she was going to become a lawyer. This was it. She was passing the bar this time. And now she's extremely upset that that didn't end up happening. And again, I'm like, Kim, maybe you should stop talking about your journey to becoming a lawyer, because it's sounding more and more as a joke the more that you open your mouth about it, right? All that and more in today's episode of The Morning Report. But give me a second, you guys, because I do need to find my telephone. I don't know where I put it, and I'm going to need it to play some audio for you guys. So we got a word from some of our sponsors. And on the flip side, we're going to start off with our story about Janelle Evans getting David almost held in contempt of court. Okay, here we go. The Morning Report is brought to you by Philo. Watch your favorite shows and movies from over 70 different channels, including MTV, TLC, WeTV, and more for only $28 a month. Get a free trial today by clicking the link in the description box of this video to get your free trial up and running. Tired of learning languages in boring, frustrating ways? Try TalkPal. TalkPal is your personal AI language tutor. It teaches you languages in fun, engaging ways. It gives you real-time feedback, assesses your pronunciation, and the learning process is personalized just for you. Join millions of other learners and start your language learning journey today. I'm back and I got my phone, which means we're good for that next story. So let's start off with the Janelle story. Once again, shout out to the Ashley for getting this delicious, wonderful, fascinating scoop about what's going on in her divorce from David Eason. So do you guys remember how David won big in the divorce settlement from Janelle, right? So he got some pretty big assets from her, but the thing is that these assets were not owned outright, meaning that there are still loans that need to be paid off for these assets that now belong to David Eason. However, David Eason has not taken the steps necessary to take Janelle's name off of these loans and assume them on his own. So for things like four-wheelers, a car, things like that, right? He is still allowing these things to stay in Janelle's name, and he's not paying these loans that he is supposed to be paying for. And because he is doing that, Janelle's credit has taken a huge hit. And so she has gone back to the court to ask that that David be held in contempt of court for not following through with the court order. And so now it looks as though the judge is agreeing with Janelle. David has not yet officially been held in contempt of court. However, the judge does agree with Janelle that, something about this is off, and David needs to explain why he hasn't been respecting the court order, right? So the judge's order itself says, and I quote, "It is appearing to the court from the facts stated in this verified motion that there is cause to believe that David Eason willfully violated this court's previous order without just cause or excuse." And so the judge has ordered for David to appear on December 1st in court to explain, show any cause, if any, why he should not be held in contempt of court. Because right now it looks like she wants for him to be held in contempt of court, but he needs to be able to explain why exactly it is that she should spare him. And personally, I don't think that David's going to have a good excuse. I do believe that he's probably going to play on the fact that he's got like his current legal situation playing out with like his latest victim, Kenelle, right? So she's got this restraining order out on him. They broke up, he's moved out of the house and everything like that. So maybe he's going to say, listen, I have been incredibly busy. My girlfriend and I, my sugar mama and I broke up. I had to move out of that house. I had to fight a restraining order that she put out on me. And so because of that, I have not been able to assume the loans, the assets and whatnot that I won in the divorce. But at the same time, I'm not sure that that is going to qualify as a good excuse, because guess what? This stuff was months ago. David has had several months to get these assets put in his name, but he has just chosen not to. So personally, I'm not sure that that is an excuse that is going to fly with the judge. And also, you guys, do not forget, the tea has been confirmed that David does indeed live back on the boat, at the broken down boat, by the way, ever since getting kicked out of his latest sponsor's home as well. So again, listen, he won these things back in July. We're now in November. He and Kenelle broke up in September. So between July and September, he had about 2.5 months to get all of this stuff done, right? So, here's the thing though. I don't know why he didn't just go ahead and automatically sell it off, right? He doesn't need several cars. He doesn't even have a home. Go ahead, sell those cars, break those, whatever you have over those cars, use that money to maybe rent something for yourself. Because listen, I don't know how he's going to get through the winter living on a broken down boat. You know what I mean? And on top of that, Janelle also gave him $30,000 cash, all sorts of things to help ease this transition for him, and to allow for him to live like a certain lifestyle for a bit. Because $30K, listen, in today's economy, it's tough, right? But on top of that, especially when you have no income, but David recently did get a job, and Kenelle actually on Twitter claimed that she's the one who hooked him up with this job, right? So apparently he's making, some money, and I imagine it might even be good money, this new job that he's got. Like, what is it that he's doing, you guys? Doesn't he change pipes or something like that? Like, I think that must be some sort of a well enough paying job for him, right? So that, coupled with the $30K that he won from Janelle, this man should be able to afford to assume these loans, rent a property of some sort, maybe go live on the shed that he won in the divorce even, I don't know, go build, you know what I mean? Go get a mobile home to put onto that property, or I don't know, like something. He should be able to do something. So I'm looking forward to seeing him appear in court in 3 weeks from now, and to hearing what the judge thinks of his overall excuses and explanations for why it is that he is allowing Janelle's credit score to continue to sink on into the gutter. You guys, just saying. Let's see what y'all have to say about it. Okay. Hey, Jess. Jess says, I work at a college. I seriously wonder how some of these young adults made it this far in life. It scares me. You know what? I had one of these incidences with a friend of mine. We're not friends anymore. And y'all can imagine why. Like sometimes some people are so, no offense, but like dumb. That is kind of scary. I remember this one time she slept over at my house and I was straightening my hair. And then she wanted to use the washroom. So I said, okay. So I just put like my hair thing down by the sink. And so she goes to wash her hands. And when I come back, the girl had put the straightener in the sink and washed her hands over the straightener that was plugged in. I was like, girl, are you trying to start a fire in here? Like, are like, and that was amongst other like very moronic things that she did. It was scary to be around somebody, no offense again, but so dumb. Truly, like, oh my God. And I actually don't even think that was like the scariest, like dumb thing that the girl did. Just saying. Oh my goodness gracious. Like it's giving me a heart attack just thinking about all the foolishness with that girl and how scary it was. Good morning, Jaleesa. I just got off work listening to this on my commute home. Love that. Have a safe drive home. Hey, two snaps. Happy Tuesday, boo. Keeping away from the Kardashians, indeed. Gwen says, the older I get, the more I notice that our bodies are not good at hiding problems. I'm missing part of my intestines and had multiple surgeries by age 21. People are always surprised to find out, oh my God, how did you do all of that? Oh my goodness gracious. I'm happy you're doing better now. Oh my goodness, that must have been difficult on your body. Good morning, Ramster. Bonjour, bonjour. J'espère que tu vas bien. Joyeux mardi. Hey, Melissa. Good morning. And look, we've got a super chat from this is one of my brothers, you guys. They haven't confirmed which one this is, but it's one of them. So let's go ahead and get that boom going for the bros. Thanks so much for the super chat. It says, I use TalkPal, but I down to the AI person. Now, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And I'm telling you guys, TalkPal is so good. I've been using it as well in my own language learning journey. And it's just so cool to be able to have full-blown conversations in a different language with an AI language coach. BB says, so then technically he won, but hasn't really won. He doesn't have money to do it. LOL. Exactly. That's why I think he should have sold this stuff off. He won several cars that he cannot afford. But the good thing is you sell off these cars, right? You pay off these loans. Hopefully it's worth more than loans, but we all know how cars depreciate, right? So I don't know if he can, but I don't even know why he fought for this stuff. He should have let Janelle keep it. But I think that David, is another person who's not that smart. And so to him, he thought that he was pulling one over on Janelle by, winning the titles to these loans and whatnot, and not realizing the real true implications of what it is that he has done to himself. Good morning, Jody. Happy Tuesday. Ramsey says, has David ever not been in contempt of court? Good question. This guy is always in some kind of mess. He's got this simultaneously. The stuff with Canal just cleared up, but he had that going on simultaneously while also battling the Jace drama. And I think he's got another baby mama who's got him in court as well. One thing about this man is he stays in the damn courtroom. It is absolutely insane. And I 100% believe or agree, Terry, that he truly is a leech. Truly, truly, truly. Gwen says, so David switched up on his new mommy before she even got the actual money, and he's too lazy, to put stuff in his name so he has the money. Exactly. He's not smart, is he? He is truly a fool. He really thought as soon as that settlement, was signed off on, that he could call the shots, he can go back to being his own dreadful, insufferable self, and that she would put up with it. But no, she said, get out of here, and that's the thing. As ladies, when you have your own money, truly, when you have your own money, you do not have to put up with a damn thing at all. You just say, you know what? I'm not dealing with this. Next, because there's always another one around the corner. Do not put up with the David Eastons of the world. Don't even talk to them. I still do not understand how this girl looked at this man and how he brings literally nothing to the table but chaos, misery, brokenness, and he probably stinks too, and said, yeah, I'm going to move that into my house. Come on now. Becky says, thought he was trying to be on disability for his quote debilitating vitiligo. Listen, nobody was falling for that. How stupid was he for that, by the way? Like, there's so many millions of people with vitiligo who work. It's, like, it's just the stupidest thing. The judge was like, really, that's what you're going to use to try and say that you can't work? All right, get out of here. Good morning, Nada. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a great day. And I know, right? It's absolutely freaking incredible all that Gwen has gone through. My goodness gracious. I'm in awe, truly, truly, truly. Ronnie says, I had an employee like that. She couldn't even change the trash without explaining it multiple times. It's so exhausting, frustrating. And again, it's scary, being around people like this. It's scary, truly, truly, truly. Ronnie says, I had listen. Not me kind of being somebody like that. Listen, it's my short-term memory. It just does not exist, y'all. Good morning, Ray Bay. Nice to see you. And Latasha, for some people, yes. So for you, I see that you're watching vertical, but a lot of people are also still watching the horizontal as well. So if you ever want to switch, you can go back to the horizontal portrait. But yeah, it depends on how you typically like to watch your content. YouTube then decides for you how to present this stream, which is super cool. Two Snap says they own nothing with loans out on all the cars. Exactly. Can somebody please explain to me? Listen, what is it with people in cars, right? Like, why would a person ever need to have multiple cars? I get why a couple would need 2 cars, but why would a couple need 3, 4, 5 cars? Can somebody explain that to me, please? And thank you, because I genuinely do not understand whatsoever why that would make sense, especially if they had loans on all these cars and whatnot. It just seems like a financial mistake, in my personal opinion. I don't know. Something about it seems a little crazy. Good morning, Hamlet. Happy Tuesday. Happy Memorial Day. You guys, this David Eason drama. Listen, like I said, he's staying in the courts, right? He's got some more court hearings coming up. He has to present his case on December 1st. Then there's also the Jace strangulation stuff that he has to face as well. And I'm sure there's going to be more. I think there's another case that I'm forgetting, but there's always going to be more with him. So stick around for that. Next story, we're going to get into the Kale thing, but I want to catch up on you guys' comments before we get into why I think Kale is truly, truly, as slow as it gets. BB says, Imelda, you're supposed to be plugged in. What are you doing? BB says, wonder if he thought Janelle would be made to pay off. Yes, exactly. Maybe that's what he thought. He thought, okay, I win this. Now Janelle has to pay this off, and I get to live like the princess that I am. But no, it just does not work that way, David. It really doesn't. A mess. Honestly, can you imagine? Sometimes when I see these, and y'all, my channel members know this. I said this all the time when I was reading Janelle's memoir. I was like, can you imagine hoping and praying to have a child? And then you get a Janelle or you get a David Eason. Oh my God, really? I sacrificed 18 years of my life raising that. Oh Lord, what a nightmare. Honestly, these two are some of the most disappointing results that you can ever have as a parent. I really do feel for their parents, but at the same time, I do wonder what type of parent it takes to raise a Janelle or a David as well. It's not always the parent's fault, but sometimes the background of these people explains why they are the way that they are, right? Do judges even read his dossier? Good question. I was quite disappointed in the Canal case because I do think that the judge should have allowed for her to get an extended restraining order based on his dossier and his very long history of violence against women, children, and animals, right? Teresa says, I didn't know they were breaking up. Can somebody tell me why? I haven't been able to watch it in a long time. Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear about your health condition, Teresa. Hopefully you're doing okay. I'm knocking on wood that things continue to look up for you. So are you talking about Janelle and David or David and Canal? Because Janelle and David ultimately wound up divorcing. Why did they ultimately wind up divorcing? Like, I think he was continuously cheating on her or something like that. Like, guys, can you remind me what was the final straw? It had nothing to do with the Jace stuff. David allegedly strangled Jace, but that's fine with Janelle. But something else happened between the two of them that ultimately just was too much for Janelle. I think he was seeing other women or something like that. And then when it comes to Canal, what happened with Canal? He started acting up when he won money in his divorce settlement from Janelle. All of a sudden, he started acting super jealous, super intimidating, all this stuff. And she decided to ultimately go ahead and kick him out of her house, right? So a big mess. Now, you guys, I am loading up the podcast episode with Kale because this one is just too damn funny to me. I'm sorry, y'all, but it is absolutely hilarious, right? So, just to set the scene, here I am this morning on the metro, minding my own business, heading home. And I'm like, oh, listen, I love to listen to podcasts when I am on the metro. Okay. Mind you, I'm very rarely on the metro. I do just like to listen to podcasts, but especially on the metro. So anyway, I need something to listen to. Would you look at that? A new episode of Karma and Chaos dropped. Why don't I go ahead and get that a listen? So I did listen to this, and I also listened to the Angel episode of Watch What Happens Live as well, right? So Becky is trying to get Kale's opinion on a breaking news story that happened. Do you guys remember? And this wasn't too long ago. Do you guys remember how there was like a big heist at the Louvre Museum here in Paris? So Becky asked Kale, did you hear the news? There was a heist at the Louvre Museum. Take a listen to how Kale reacts to this. And tell me my girl isn't slow.
I was wondering if you have seen all of the Louvre robbery stuff.
The what?
The Louvre got robbed.
The Louvre? What is that?
In Paris,
I don't know what that is.
where the Mona Lisa is.
What the fuck? Is that a museum?
Yes, it's the Louvre.
Why would I know what that is?
I think it's common knowledge.
No, nobody knows what that is.
Okay, everyone knows what it is. First of all,
Who's the fucking Mona Lisa?
I don't know.
Okay then.
Anyway, the Louvre got robbed.
What? She truly didn't know what the Louvre was, you know? And so Becky says, you know, it's the place with the Mona Lisa. What is that, like a museum? Nobody knows what that is. Are you sure that nobody knows what the Louvre Museum is, girl? Like, huh? I was a little bit like shaken by that. I truly felt like, really? Like, how do you not know? Especially as somebody who prides themselves on traveling and whatnot. I think Kale has been to Paris. Kale has been to Spain. She's been around the world. Like, this is, you know, this isn't Amber Portwood. This isn't like a Caitlin and Tyler. They never leave their state or their country or whatever. This is somebody who travels around the world, you know, notably in Europe, and she doesn't know what the Louvre is. And she thinks that it's like niche knowledge that nobody knows. Like, the most famous museum in the world, the most visited museum in the world. Like, honestly, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Like, really? Like, how is that even possible? This happens so many times with her where you're like, really? Like, it's crazy. Because you guys know she's talking about how she wants to go become a lawyer and stuff. And then she didn't know like that there's such a thing as first degree murder, second degree murder, you know, versus manslaughter and stuff. She's like, oh, really? There's degrees of murder? I was like, aren't you training to be a lawyer? Don't you want to go to law school? Like, don't you have a true crime podcast or a segment on your podcast where you talk about true crime? Like, like, you don't know? And then she was talking about, you know, she was trying to talk about somebody being indicted. She calls it indicted and all stuff. Like, I'm sorry, but the girl is not that bright. She's strategic. She does a good job of making money, but I don't think she's that bright. Terry says, no, I mean like rendezvous is a French. Yeah, there's so many like loaner words for sure between French and English. Oh my goodness gracious. What a mess. Exactly, Terry. Where else would you see the Mona Lisa? You know, I will tell you guys, I did have a slow moment here because in France, the French do not call the Mona Lisa, right? So I remember talking to people about, you know, wanting to go to the museum to see the Mona Lisa, or like people were talking about the Louvre Museum and how like they wanted to go see La Joconde. So I was like, oh, like, why does everyone here want to see La Joconde? Like, I thought the Mona Lisa was like the biggest thing, you know what I mean? Like the painting that everybody wanted to see at the Louvre. What is this La Joconde? That's what they call it here. So that's my slow moment in regards to this museum. But like not knowing what the Louvre is absolutely stunning to me. But I digress. It looks like you guys have the same reaction as me to this kind of like head scratching moment on the podcast. BB says, oh, I love your new photo, by the way, BB. So pretty. She's just so uncultured and ignorant. LMAO really makes us Americans look very slow. So embarrassing. And that's the part I don't get. She's so well-traveled. Like, you know, like, how? Like, what do you mean you don't know what that is? You know, like, what? Arnie says, no, she's just dumb. Just as Kale always sounds so nasty when she talks, no matter who she talks to. Like she's annoyed with everyone. Yeah, she has a very aggressive disposition when she speaks. Absolutely. And this is something we saw on the show when she was studying communications. Her teacher told her, Kale, you kind of have to talk with a smile. You know, you have to sound a little bit more pleasant or pleasant in general when you speak because you sound very aggressive. And she's like, why would I have to do that? Yeah. You know what? Keep doing what you're doing, boo. Emma says, all that travel and no culture. That's one way to put it, right? Like, what the hell? BR says, oh, I know I'm a Kale hater, but I didn't know the Louvre, but I saw news reports. Oh my God. Isn't that so crazy? Have you heard of the other museums like Musée d'Orsay, l'Orangerie, the other things like that we've got here in Paris? Terry says, I don't think that makes her dumb, just uncultured. Not vaccinating her kids is dumb, right? BR says, I've also never been to Europe. And listen, that's your excuse. Kale has been here. That's what I really do not understand about it. She's been here multiple times. Yet she doesn't know what the most famous museum over here is. That's crazy to me. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Maria says, Amber would know what the Louvre is. They have a lovely couches. Y'all are killing me. Terry says, yeah. Oh, casting couch. Oh, Lord have mercy. It is too early for all of this, y'all. Teresa says, I didn't know until I've seen it on the news. Wow. I'm so fascinated by this because I thought literally everybody knew what it was. Kelly says, I'm still fully obsessed with the Louvre robbery, but how did you not know what the Louvre is? It's crazy. You know, the fact that one of the guys involved in the robbery, he was caught at the airport with his stolen goods in his bag. Come on now. Angie says, hey girl, hey boo, finally time to myself. We got a foot of snow yesterday, so my kids had a snow day. Were they throwing the snowballs? Were they kind of like going down the hills with the little slides and whatnot? Like, yes, they had all that snow in like Ottawa and Montreal and Toronto as well, from what I saw from my friends' postings on the gram. Terry's, well, how do you pronounce it? Dossier? Like, how do you pronounce it? Dossier? I know Americans, from what I see, because there's like this perfume dupe company called Dossier. It's a French company. The Americans pronounce it dossier. Is that how you guys say it? Dossier instead of dossier? One says, remember, our literacy rate is terrible over here, and some people can read the words but can't fully comprehend what they're reading. Oop, ain't that the truth, Lord? Listen, that gave me a good chuckle, you know, on this morning's podcast edition. I do always try to listen to her podcast to see if there's any kind of like juicy, you know, information or tidbits that I can share. There was something that I did put in my channel members section to ask a question on. I forgot what all the answers were, but I wanted to tell you guys that I was listening to her Barely Famous podcast episode. And in that podcast episode, she was saying that 2 of her baby daddies moved out of state. We already know that Javi moved to, what is it? Not Myrtle Beach, Virginia Beach, right? For work. But who's the other one that moved? Is it Chris that moved? I don't know why, but in my head, I have a feeling that Chris moved to New Jersey. Am I imagining that, or was that announced at a certain point? Because that is something that she mentioned on the pod. Latasha says, oh, Latasha, you are making me hungry. What is this in your photo? It is making me hungry. Speaking of other notable places in France, would you consider doing a separate live regarding travel? Listen, you know what I like to do? And I think I send this to people. Oh, crap. I think there's one I need to respond to, because sometimes people email me with like recommendations on where to go, and I usually send them, but sometimes I know I responded to somebody, but then they responded back, and I don't think I got to respond again. So I have to see. I have to see about that. But yeah, anytime. Listen, you guys, if you're coming to Paris or whatever and you need some recommendations of where to go, feel free, hit me up. I will definitely give you some tips. You know, it's funny. One of these people that I won't say a friend because we don't know each other like that. We went to elementary school together and we have each other on Instagram. So she's here visiting Paris and she keeps posting herself in the most tourist, like trappy places. And I'm like, girl, go to this place, like stay away from these things. Like it's not a good place that you're at. You know what I mean? Like there's so many cool and exciting, like real places to go here. Cause a lot of people, when they come, they like to go to those cafes, and I'm sure you guys have seen them. You know, when they have all those like beautiful, it's really beautifully decorated on the outside. Like they're typically cafes, brasserie with like the plastic flowers and stuff. They like to go to those things. And it's like, locals don't go there. There's so many, you know, cool, real places to go. So, you know, I gave her a tip for a really beautiful speakeasy that I love over in the 6th. So I hope she gets to go and check it out. Now, okay, so there it is, Terry. Like dossier. Yeah, I don't understand that. It makes me laugh a little bit. I prefer dossier personally, but I digress. Now let's see what was the Paris Jackson thing. Listen, y'all, I think I hinted at this already, but I'm quite shocked by this story, to be honest with you. I know that Paris Jackson has her issues, right? Who doesn't? But her issues are on another level, unfortunately. And, a lot of that has to do with loss and grief and whatnot. And, she decided to go ahead and do her followers a solid by sharing some very, very serious warnings about rug use, right? So there was an era where Paris Jackson used to do a lot of rugs, specifically rugs that are snorted in your nose. And that has caused her a lot of damage in her nose. Apparently now she suffers from a perforated septum. And so she showed the inside of her nose and everything. It was very vulgar. So I'm not sure. Y'all let me know if you want to see it, but I'm not sure y'all want to see it like that. But she showed all the damage that was caused to the inside of her nose because of this habit that she once had. And I think because there are so many young people that follow her, or even people of particular ages who might be indulging in this stuff, I think it's really wonderful of her to be open about her battle with substance abuse, and the damage that it has caused her, right? Like it is a permanent damage that she had from the inside, or just living with it the way that it is currently, right? And some people get it even worse. If you look up, damage from, skiing or whatever, there are people with fully disfigured, burnt off noses from like these substances and whatnot. So she, as far as this stuff is concerned, she's lucky. A lot of times people think, oh, like to be young, to be rich, to, inherit all this money. Well, I think that people like Paris Jackson or, other young children of celebrities or other young, famous, rich kids, and all the battles that they deal with mental health issues, substance issues, and whatnot, really just goes to show you that money just does not buy happiness. Yes, it buys a certain level of comfort, but at the same time, like it doesn't buy happiness. It's not always going to fulfill you. It's not always going to heal you. She went through a lot with the shocking death of her father, Michael Jackson, the media buzz surrounding that. And I think that she still also struggles and always will struggle with people not considering her and her siblings to be Michael's real children or anything like that. And I think with her identity as well, she identifies as Black, but, people don't really see her that way. I'm not going to lie. I certainly do not see her that way. And so I think that certain level of rejection or being raised to identify one way when it just doesn't, it's a lot. She's going through a lot. And unfortunately, with all that she's going through, at her young age, she turned to rugs, right? And she turned to these relationships with these with these losers that are way too old for her. She was recently engaged as well, but thankfully, she broke off that engagement. I think that this was like a grifter and a loser that she almost, tied herself to legally. And thankfully she woke up from that and decided to get away from it. Thanks, Terry. I really do not want to show it. It is yuck, right? She decided to shine a light through it and everything. It was a mess. Two Snap says the Jackson family has issues with them noses. Yep, that's one thing about them, unfortunately. Ramster says, yep, awful to see. It really, really is. And it is like you have one nostril. Oh, hey, Jamie. I'll see you back as part of the Playback Posse. Nice of you to pop in a little bit nonetheless. Hope you're having a great day. One nose, two nostrils. I thought we gave Paris a pass, but I don't see Black, unfortunately. No, I don't think it was fair of Michael to brainwash her and her siblings like that. Very strange. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are big Michael Jackson fans. Listen, he had some good songs, but he was a bit of a mess. And what he did to his kids as well is quite messed up, in my opinion, personally. Ramsey says, when you never know if friends hang out with you for you or your last name, yup. it damages your trust for the rest of your life. And I completely agree with that. I think she's got a hard time knowing who's real, who's fake. And then I also think that other Nepo babies or other rich kids, you know, and whatnot, they have their own issues. So it's really difficult to find a circle that works for you. And to be honest, it doesn't really look like she or her siblings are all that motivated to like work or to really do anything fulfilling with their lives. Like, and they don't have to work, right? They don't need to work for financial reasons, but I think it would help them a lot. Well, her specifically, because she seems to be the one struggling the most. But I think it would be really helpful to somebody like her to have a sense of purpose, right? Instead of just not really doing anything day in and day out. Like that's kind of weird. And I think it could lead to a lot of just overthinking and just, you know, strife and whatnot and angst. And so I don't know, maybe she can get involved with the foundation. Maybe she can pick up a great hobby, you know, like some of these celebrity or rich kids, what do they get into? Like they like to ride horses, and that takes up a lot of time, right? And it takes a lot of discipline, focus, dedication. Like, you know, it's not a job, but it's something that occupies your time and motivates you like a job, and it keeps you social. And even better than a job, it gives you physical exercise. You know, like you have to find something to dedicate your life or your time to for a certain period of time instead of just kind of like wandering around aimlessly. I think that doesn't help her mental health situation at all. Anyway, by the way, we do have a new member, P. Nice to see you. Thanks so much for joining my channel membership. Yesterday, I put out another chapter of the Ashley's Teen Mom Confidential book review for our little book club over there. So hopefully you get to enjoy that new chapter in addition to all the other books that we've covered and the other chapters as well. I already read this comment, but it was so funny, BB. Honestly, I was laughing my behind off on the metro. I really, really was. It was just so damn funny. It really was. Let's see what else y'all had to say. I think I have one final story. Terry says, I like Michael Jackson's music, but I send him and Chris Brown to hell in a handbasket. And, you know, that's the sad part. It's always the most talented, you know, the people who make such good music and whatnot. Like, a mess. Ronnie says, I was so fascinated by those kids when they were little. Yeah, I still remember them at the funeral. They were so young. It was so sad to see them that way and to see them have to speak in front of everybody. And I remember, didn't Paris say something like, oh, he was the best daddy ever? And she breaks down crying. And I was like, oh, why did she have to, you know, like, I feel like they should have sheltered those kids a lot more during that time instead of kind of like, you know, putting them out there for the public. Terry says, oh, I already read this one. Ramster says her brother had his hair bleached from a very young age. Did he? Which one is that? Is that Blanket or the other one? I can't keep up with them. There's Paris, there's Blanket, and there's the other one. Is it Mike Jr.? What is his name? Latasha says, every time I see Paris Jackson, I think of Madonna. She looks like her child. Lourdes, I think. Did Madge get? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it sounds a little bit crass or vulgar. I don't know where these kids came from. He says that he mixed his genes with that lady's genes, but I don't know. I really think that he got a donor sperm or something like that. But, you know, it's very strange, the situation overall. And then the brainwashing he did to her about her identity and stuff, setting her up to really, really struggle was not great. You listen, I'm sorry, but Michael was a very, very strange person at the end of the day. Truly. Now, you guys, why don't we get into the Shannon Sharpe story? Y'all, this story will never not be jaw-dropping to me because this man was really on the top of the world for a minute there with his Club Shay Shay. What was he on? ESPN and all that. Like, he was really living large. He really was. And then in typical creepy old man fashion, what did he have to do? He, as a man pushing 60 years old, decided to go on creep on a teenager, a barely legal girl. I can even say woman. To me, a teenager is not a woman or a man. It's still a child. You know, it was a child last week. 300 days ago, this was a child. You pushing 60, you are past middle age, and you're creeping on these children, right? So he tries to go on these dates with this girl, and it works out. And then they start sleeping together. But then he starts taking things too far and doing things without her consent and roughing her up in the ways that she did not consent to. And so she rightfully decides to sue him. Do you guys remember this story? Oh, we were on this story when it came out, y'all. Like, we truly were on this story. So she decides to sue him. and rightfully so. By the way, her name was Gabriela Zuniga, and she is now 22 years old. But at the time that she was messing around with Shannon Sharpe, or can I say being groomed? Technically not, because, you know, she was of age, but it's still creepy. In my opinion, there's literally no reason for a man pushing 60 to be hanging around with a barely legal teenager. It's to me, it's PDF behavior. It really is. So anyway, she decides to sue him anonymously as Jane Doe, and then he tries to publicly humiliate her by blasting her name like over a dozen times in his public response to her. And that public response did not work, because at the end of the day, he was, in my opinion, guilty of all of the things that she accused him of doing. And he ultimately, because of that, had to settle with her for several $million. And so now here Gabriela is. She's officially bought herself a new house that she's now showing off online. She hasn't shown off the entire house, but she's shown off, look, that check cleared, y'all. I'm in a mansion. And I bet you she paid for that mansion in cash, thanks to Shannon Sharpe's money. And good for her. She deserves every single bit of it. So look at this beautiful pool in her new beautiful mansion. She showed off, you know, her going to the nail salon. She wanted to make sure we saw her AP watch, Audemars Piguet watch, which is like $55K, sponsored by Shannon Sharpe, creepy old man. And it's just absolutely incredible. I think, what was it, like $20 million or something like that she won from this man? And I think in his entire NFL career, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that what he made in his entire NFL career? Something like $20 million? Like, this man is so dumb. He is so stupid. He is so creepy. He is so weird. And I'm so glad that that he lost all his money. I am so glad. And thank you, Two Snaps. In the Michael Jackson story, the name of the mom of those of the kids is Debbie Rowe. By the way, Two Snaps, do you think it's a sperm donor? Because I don't think those. Anyway, listen. Too late. Too late. But anyway, yeah, like this Shannon Sharpe story is absolutely incredible to me. You know, to go and do that to a teenager, and then to try and slut shame her and publicly humiliate her, when the only person who should be humiliated and ashamed in this situation is you as a grown ass man. And I'm sorry, as an old ass man messing around with a child, like, come on, you know? So I do think that she deserves all the money. I think that there are some people trying to make fun of her, like in her comment section, this, that, or the other. But at the end of the day, no, what Shannon did to her, like BR said, is disgusting, you know? And in my opinion, it was illegal, and she deserves that settlement money as well. He retired this girl. He really did. Meanwhile, he's got to get back to work. I think he wound up getting dropped by ESPN. He hasn't been releasing episodes of Club Shay Shay. So I think what he's trying to do is lay low, wait for all of this to blow over, and then come back and make back that money. Because listen, I don't think he's going to be able to retire for a while now that he had to pay off that settlement. Tessa says, yeah, he did her wrong. No, she does not deserve every penny, but he's a creep. He should have known better, but let's not sponsor these girls by saying she deserves it. I think she does. I think that if you get violated by anybody, you should be able to take them to the cleaners. I think they should be broke. Anybody who's out here assaulting people deserves to lose every single penny that they have, every single, like, you know, morsel of food in their fridge. And you know what? We got to clean up under their fridge to make sure there's no crumbs left for them to eat too. I really do. You know, and I would say that about anybody. If something happened to anybody, they deserve to take that person to the freaking cleaner, because again, there is no reason for an old man, like a 60-year-old man, to be messing around with an 18-year-old child at all. Acacia says the sad part is he didn't want to pay over a certain, exactly. He didn't want to pay anything for his daughter's weddings. He said he will never retire his children. His children will always have to work. He didn't want to retire his parents, or what. Like, he was very known as like the stingy person who never wanted, you know, for anybody in his circle to be living good. You know, here's my thing, whatever. If you don't want to retire your parents, whatever. If you don't want to retire your siblings, your friends, whatever, but your own kids, like, that you brought into this world, and you're capable of having them live in peace, 100% like secure, and you don't want to do that, that's crazy. Well, now look, now you retired somebody else's daughters. So shout out to you for that. He is such a dummy. He truly, truly is. And I love this for him. I really do. Thank you, Two Snaps. Tessa says that's true. There's no reason. Exactly. There's no reason at all. He got what he deserved. I am so happy that Gabriela was able to buy herself a beautiful mansion off his dime. I am so happy that Gabriella now has a 50K watch off his dime, and I'm excited to see what else Gabrielle gets to do with her money and her time now that this creep has to pay her the money that she deserves, from suffering, from from being a victim of him, and his brutalization of her. And on top of that, his smear campaign against her. He really thought that we were going to support him and his old ass over this young girl that he preyed on. Please, please, never, ever, ever, ever. Now, you guys, I want to get into our final story of the day. And by the way, I'm having so much fun. If you're enjoying today's episode of the show, please, please, please do me a solid and hit that like button, okay? Let's get into the Kim Kardashian of it all. So Kim Kardashian, every time I see her name, I want to pronounce it like that makeup girl, Kim Kardashian. So I'm sorry. And listen, I don't feel one way or the other about her law journey. I know she wants to be a lawyer without going to law school, whatever. I don't care. However, lately, especially this week, the comments she's been making about like the law and studying and all this stuff, like it's making her seem like a massive joke. Okay. So for example, and this is something we covered in last week's episode of the Morning Report, but she said that she was failing a lot of her law exams because she was studying using ChatGPT, like literally asking ChatGPT for legal advice. I was like, and you're supposed to be somebody's lawyer? Oh, that's kind of scary, And now here she is crashing out because she failed the bar again. And she says, oh my God, I can't believe I failed the bar. I consulted all these psychics. They told me I'd pass. I'm like, Kim, maybe you should shut your mouth about this like law journey, because again, you're coming off a bit, like a bit of a joke with all of these like weird comments you're making about it. But take a listen to her crashing out over here in this video, and then I'll get back into you guys' comments.
I'm just letting you guys know that all of the psychics that we have met with and that we're obsessed with are all full of shit. They all collectively, maybe 4 of them, have told me I was going to pass the bar. So they're all full pathological liars. Don't believe anything they say.
So there you go. All 4 of my psychics that I asked if I'm going to pass the bar, they told me yes. So between the ChatGPT and the psychics and the this and that, maybe it's time to just shut your mouth and study. Truly study. Study with your own eyes, your own brain, without consulting ChatGPT and without consulting psychics. I think that would help you a lot. Just saying. Two Snaps says she's disgusting. Who did Kim blow to? And she's not yet a lawyer. She's listen, and that's how I know she's really, truly going through this the authentic way. I really thought that she would fake failing once or twice, and then she'd be able to like get the thing, right? But so far, she's been failing for several years straight. So I really do think that this is her own like actual true attempt to become a lawyer. I think that if she eventually does succeed, it'll be by her own merit. I don't know what you guys think, but because it's been several years, and she's still sticking to it. I wouldn't be surprised though if she decided to ultimately kind of like let this dream go and quit. But yeah, I'm actually quite surprised that it's been going on for this long, because I really, like you thought that she was going to buy, a law degree, but no, like she just can't seem to pass that bar so far. Latasha says that's her first mistake, not taking things seriously. And exactly, that's what it comes across as between the ChatGPT and the psychics, Nada says, because she knows people figured out she's using ChatGPT, that's why that woman is a scam. She truly is. I admire, and this is what I'm talking about with the Paris Jackson thing, like, yeah, maybe you're rich or whatever, but you still have to have a sense of purpose. And that's one thing these girls have, like, the Kardashians especially, they've got several businesses. They're always hustling on something. They're not just sitting around like, okay, we're rich, we've got more money than we can ever spend. With them, they're so ambitious. They always have something else that they want to achieve. With Kim, now it's getting this law degree and whatnot, and she's got all these businesses that are doing well, Skims, etc. Khloe's got her popcorn, her jeans. Kourtney's got like the vitamins. Kendall 818 modeling. Kylie, she's got her makeup, but what are these other people doing? Quite literally nothing. Paris Jackson needs a sense of purpose, right? Becky says, Grace, you're right. They need a good outlet. They will always be compared to their dad and would really struggle to make success. Exactly. Wasn't she going down the nipple model route? She is a striking girl. I really do think she's striking. And unfortunately, with all the tattoos and stuff, I think that kind of ruins her ability to be a big model, because models are typically supposed to be blank canvases, but she's got a very, very striking face. And so, maybe she could have gone down that route, right? Jamie says she would let her clients go bye-bye forever because she is that dumb. Exactly. The idea of having this girl, Miss ChatGPT and psychics as a lawyer, like, oh my God, it's scary at this point with all the dumb stuff she keeps saying, right? And I'm telling you, Acacia, you really cannot make this stuff up. Like, what is this girl talking about? Like, why are you saying this stuff? You're really cheapening yourself at this point. Kelly says, well, they didn't say she would pass it this time. True. Maybe on the 10th time. Kimberly Noel Kardashian. Kimberly Christmas Kardashian. Carly's not here for it. She says, I roll, Kim. I roll indeed. Hey, Tadisha. She's very unserious. Unserious is one of my favorite words, I have to say. And I'm glad I no longer keep up with the Kardashians. And I feel you, boo. I do. Did they tell her she would be manless? And I think, listen, babe. Maria says, Kim, don't study, but ask psychics, right? Like, that's what it's really kind of coming across as. And it's just, oh my God, like, please, Kim, the less you say, the better. I can't believe Paris Hilton's psychic, aka Ray J's bedroom ex, is a lawyer. Not yet. She keeps on flunking. She is not a lawyer yet, you guys. Do you guys think that she's eventually going to pass that bar, by the way? Jalisa says, Kim really wants us to believe she's going to be a lawyer. She really does, you guys. She really does. Like, she has been at this for several years now. So it makes me wonder, is she going to pass it the next time, or is she going to have to give up at a certain point? Like, I'm really, really curious about that, right? Nada says they have children that are growing up. They make legacy. Very smart. And exactly, they've got all these businesses. They've got their kids, all these things, to keep them busy and to feel that sense of purpose. It's awesome. Apparently my Kris Jenner invite was lost in the mail. The MF mail, the nerve. I'll wait for the 71st. Wasn't that absolutely incredible? That birthday party of Kris Jenner's was attended by like everybody in Hollywood, royalty, billionaires. It was incredible. And you know what? Like, a lot of people are criticizing it, but at the end of the day, they're rich. They're going to have these glamorous parties. They've always had these glamorous parties. So I don't understand why all of a sudden people are acting like it's so scandalous that a very rich woman had a very rich party. A very famous woman has very famous friends. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. And then as far as all the stuff that's going on, that's what people voted for. A lot of people voted to find themselves in the situation that they're finding themselves in. She is not a politician. She could spend her money. She can invite her friends. So I really, truly, genuinely do not see the problem. But again, it was incredible. The connections, the amount of people that went to that party, it was insane, and people for years, they were like, oh, this family's irrelevant. Nobody cares about them in Hollywood. Nobody respects them. Nobody this, nobody that. Bam, that party was insane. I think that party really, truly shut those claims down. They really, really did, because that guest list, who was there? Oprah was there. Harry and Meghan were there. It was hosted at Jeff Bezos's house. Mark Zuckerberg was there. There was just all of these, like, everybody in Hollywood was there. It was insane. Truly, truly insane. It really was. And don't forget, Nada, the nipple bras. Latasha says, I've heard some lawyers in California. Exactly, right? It takes a long time. Even on Housewives of Orange County, the husband of Emily, he failed it several times before he was able to finally pass, right? Rent a Club says, Maria to Snaps calls it the Great Gatsby freak off. Jamie says, Kris is a mess too. He really is. I used to love Kris. I used to be so hardcore Team Breezy, but I don't listen to his music anymore, unfortunately, just because it's just too hard to separate him from the artist. Acacia says, Kim, just be happy to be a paralegal. You know what? Why not? Why not just be happy to be a paralegal? You're still in the legal realm, and you can still make change, especially with your influence as a celebrity. Maybe that's what she's destined for, right? I think being a paralegal is amazing too. Nada says, I know some went there just because they were forced to sit. I think that must have been the most incredible networking opportunity. I also heard that Chris's plastic surgeon was there. Imagine, people were so impressed by that new facelift of hers. So for the man who did that, pulled off that miracle to be there, oh, I'm sure he booked several clients on the spot there. East Awesome says custom Dunkin' Donuts were such an East Awesome move. What was it? America runs on Kris Jenner. I'd do something like that. It was a very nice way to debut a facelift. Oh my God, the wealth at that party was insane. I'm still stunned by it, and I think this goes to show you, like, opinions on the internet aren't real life, because let the people on the internet tell you these people are shunned. Nobody likes them. Nobody talks to them in Hollywood. People were saying the same thing about Harry and Meghan, shunned by Hollywood. And look, insane, absolutely insane. No. And I can see where you're coming from with that too, Jaleesa, just especially with everything that regular people are going through. Yeah, we're starved and we're effed and we just have to sit and watch rich people party. I hate this, like, no, but it's just, that's our own thing. It's that this is something that interests us, because there's so many other things that we could be watching, but for some reason we're so fascinated by what's going on with these people, this party, that party, and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and you know what? There still is hope. Unfortunately, a lot of people voted for policies and people who were going to make people suffer. But there still is that opportunity. I think, what do you guys call it? Flip the Senate and whatnot. And from what I'm seeing, you guys this time around voted, more in favor of the people and whatnot. So that's good. And that brings a lot of hope for what can happen in the future, but there's always going to be the haves and the have-nots. But it is true that now more than ever, the gap between the haves and the have-nots is more apparent. And there's just a certain energy in the air. East Awesome says, eat the rich. Listen, what can you do? Like, we made them rich, we made them rich. And a lot of people voted for the suffering that, that we're seeing today too. So it's like, what can you do? What can we do? Anyway, you guys, Kelly says paralegals work too hard. Kim would never survive. Damn. This has been another great episode of the Morning Report. Per usual, I had a really, really great time chatting with you guys, and I'm so looking forward to being back tomorrow for more pop culture news. If you enjoyed today's episode of the show, please don't forget to go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with more of the day's hottest stories. Take care, and I'll see you again.